Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk. As you can see, I've got the Co-Co 2 out and set up, and actually I've not really done that much with this computer since I got it. I picked this up at the Gold Barn Radio swap meet last year, the one later in the year, and it's quite a nice box, complete with box and a couple of games and stuff. Co-Co 2. Now, I quite like the Co-Co. I actually had a Co-Co 1 back in the 90s that I picked up at a car boot sale. Unfortunately, of that original one, I think all I've got left of it is the a cartridge, which I need to find so I can try it on this one. The colour basic manual and the keyboard. That's all I've got left of that computer, unfortunately. So I was quite happy when I picked this one up. But one of the issues with the Co-Co range is the video output, because these Co-Cos, I'm not sure about the Co-Co 3 actually, but I know for a fact the Co-Co 1 and the Co-Co 2 only have RF video out. That's why I've got this this old CRT connected up to it at the moment. Because the only way I can actually get an image on here is, like I said, to use the RF video out on the Co-Co and feed it into a TV with an analog tuner. I mean, you don't have to use a CRT TV. There are, you know, the early flat panel TVs. In fact, I've got one here, which is what I use for my video monitor. Something like this would work as well, because this has got both a digital and an analog tuner built into it. But usually, you know, CRT or something like that with an analog tuner built in, which does kind of limit what I can use this computer with. Like I said, I've only got a few screens that have actually got, well, TVs that have actually got an analog tuner built in, and most of the TVs I've got like that are actually black and white. So yes, they'll work, but you've not got the full experience of your glorious colour on your Co-Co. So what we're going to have a look at doing in this video is modifying the Co-Co with a composite video output rather than an RF output. Now, as obviously you can tell by my accent, I'm in the UK, which we use the PAL standard rather than America's NTSC standard. Same goes for most of Europe. Most of Europe uses the PAL standard, although a slightly different variation to what we use. But that's not really that's by the by for this. I was looking into doing a composite mod on the Co-Co, and there's loads of information out there if you look online, but the thing is that most of that information relates to the US version of the Co-Co, which obviously is an NTSC machine. Now it turns out that machine's actually quite, I won't say difficult to modify for composite video output, but it's not like as straightforward as modding a Specky. To the point where people have actually produced a board you can buy, which you basically desolder the modulator in the Co-Co. You put this board in replacement of the modulator, and it gives you composite video out. In fact, some of these boards that people have come up with have got S-video out. Even one that I was looking at actually outputs HDMI. So I mean, the cool boards, but these were designed for the US Co-Cos. I found one website online, which I think it's a German website. I'm not 100% sure. It's certainly from Europe rather than the UK, and it dealt with actually a PAL Co-Co. And from what I could see on that site, we might actually have it easier with the PAL systems than the US, because it looks like, at least the system that he was working on, does basically produce a composite signal, which is then fed into the modulator, which then outputs obviously the RF. I think we do need to amplify the signal somewhat before it's going to be usable. but I'm hoping that I'm in the same situation here as that, and it's going to be a case of removing the modulator, possibly adding a little video amplifier board, and then basically be able to get the composite video straight out, as where in the US, like I said, you need to basically build a little decoder to create the composite video from the video output from the video generator IC. Like I say, I think in the UK we're a little bit better off. So what I'll do is I'll clear the bench off and everything. We'll get the Co-Co broken down, and we can have a look inside it. We can actually find out, am I lucky, is it going to be the same as that website that I had a look at, and it's going to be a fairly simple process of actually getting composite out of this, or are we going to have to do a little bit of jiggery poker and perhaps build something up to actually get the composite out. So anyway, I'll get all this cleared off and we'll be back in a sec. Right, okay, quickly, just before we strip the computer down, I thought I'd just get you zoomed in. You can have a look at what the image actually looks like up close through the RF output. So you can see it's fairly usable. You can make all the text out. Obviously you can see you've got a bit of bleed down this side here. If you look down that side, it doesn't look perfectly straight. You've got a bit of bleed. Not so much on the lettering. It's reasonably sharp, to be honest. You've not got a huge amount of like colour showing through on the black or anything, but it's not perfect. But as an RF video output goes, it's not terrible. It's just the simple fact that it does limit us to, you know, so many oops, that's gone horribly out of focus now. Let's see if I can bring you back in. There we go. Like I say, just basically it's the fact that it limits us to things like this, really. Anyway, I will pause now, and we'll come back, and we'll get this thing stripped down. So, back in a sec. Right, okay, there we go. We're all set. You can see what we're doing. And most importantly, I've got my coffee there. So we will. I've already taken the screws out, just to make save a little bit of time. So let's get the top off, get that out of harm's way. Now this computer is exactly as I found it. I've not cleaned it or done anything to it really yet. So I think one of the things we will have to do while we're in here is probably give it a bit of a clean and do a little bit of, you know, remedial work in there. But what I will do, I'll just grab my anti-static. I mean, for one thing, we are on an anti-static mat anyway, but always best to just static up. Right, this is the one thing I hate doing, is disconnecting these ribbon cables. Very, very gently, let's ease that ribbon cable out, because they are very much like what's used on a Spectrum. They're slightly better quality, but you break that and you've got major problems with a computer like this, because unlike the Spectrum, these really aren't reproduced. At least I've not seen anyone reproduce them yet anyway. Okay, here we go. So basically we've got the main board down here, and so far it does seem to look very much like the one I looked at online, as in basically we've got a modulator here. We'll pop the top off that and we will see whether it looks something similar inside. Let's find a suitable screwdriver to pop that off. Move that out of the way. Of course, put everything in the way of what. Ah, there we go. That'll do. Pop the top of this modulator. There we go. And what have we got in there? Well, what we haven't got in there is a big IC, which is what you tend to see on the US ones. Is an MC? I think it's that chip over there. Basically, it's part of the video decoding, which is done on one of the other chips, I think on the PAL version, but it's done inside the modulator on the NTSC version. This doesn't look too bad. I think what we're going to do, what I'm going to have to do is take this board actually out of the case completely, so we can have a look at the back of this and see where we'll have the same pin out as I found online. Now fortunately, don't worry, I do have this the mains lead disconnected, so we are safe here, but you do have to be careful with the Co-Cos, with it actually having a mains power supply actually inside the case. Obviously, you know, don't mess about around there with it plugged in, because you could get quite a nasty bite. And this is the first time I've actually had a board out of a Co-Co 2. So I used to have a Co-Co 1 back in the 90s, and I've messed with some other Co-Cos. I think Co-Co 1s, but I don't think I've ever actually completely stripped down a Co-Co 2 before. I could be wrong, it is going back quite a while, but I don't seem to remember. Right, okay, we'll put those in there for reuse after. And I think we can get the, there we go, that's the main board out. We'll move the case out of the way for now. As you can see, this is pretty filthy dirty. I'm going to give it a good clean before this computer goes back together, but let's have a look on the back. And yeah, here we are. This is what we wanted to look at. So from what I found online, I think what we've got is we've got video, plus 5 volts, one which I don't think's used. I think it's only used on like NTSC ones, and audio, all on basically a set of pins there. So what I'm going to do, I'm trying to think how the best way to accomplish this, because what I don't want to do is go hacking about the case. I was thinking about just bringing some cables out of there actually, and just having some pigtails on the back so we don't have to cut the case to mount some sockets or anything like that on it. What I think I will do, because another thing is, from what I can, I've found, basically the output from this is not high enough to drive composite directly. It needs a little bit of a buffer amplifier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the modulator that we've got in here now, which basically means I need to desolder these points here, which is going to be fun, and desolder along there. And then I'm actually got, this has had some quite interesting rework done around there. I wonder what's happened there. I've got tracks cut, things rewired around here. I'll have to have a look into that. Something's definitely been done to this in the past. But anyway, as I was saying, basically first thing I want to do is actually remove this modulator, and then I can power the board up. I can just see whether we do actually have video on that signal there. We might even try just firing a monitor up off that and see whether it has got enough there to drive it. So I'll get the desoldering station powered up, and we'll have a go at getting this this modulator off. I won't bore you with that. We'll come back as soon as I've got this off the board. So back in a sec. Right, as you can see, there we go, I've got it out. Now that probably took me about a good 30 minutes actually, because I didn't want to go too hard and risk doing too much damage. And actually, unfortunately, I did actually pull the plating on one of the through holes for the video pin there, but it's only on the top there. The back of it's absolutely fine, so we can still make a good connection to it. And it was simply a case of, I've got everything free. I got the modulator, so I got it to lift up like that. And I thought I had all them pins free. I tried moving them and I thought they all moved perfectly. and I just couldn't quite get that back tab there, so I got a screwdriver underneath just to give me a little bit of leverage, and it come up, and as it did, like I said, unfortunately it did pull that little bit of plating. But it's not the end of the world. It's not, you know, disaster or anything, because we've still got something we can solder to. And what I'm going to do now, just so I can do a little bit of testing, is I'm going to connect just some wires up temporary. So we're going to go into the video pin. I'm going to connect a wire to that. As you see, even though we've you know, we've pulled a bit of the plating off, we've still got a perfectly good connection there. That's, like I said, it's not going to be a problem. And we want a ground connection. Now I can just, basically everything on all this is ground, so we can use, say that there. We'll just add a little bit of fresh solder to it, and then we can solder that wire. That should be enough. Oh no, let's try somewhere else. We can try it. This is only a temporary connection again, so it doesn't really matter too much. I don't seem to have a lot of luck there. Let me just clean my iron off and try going in with a bit of fresh solder. There we go, that's better. And then we can just tack that wire on. So it's only temporary, that. There we go, we've got a connection there now. So basically we should have a video signal. Like I say, it won't be very strong, but we should have a video signal on that wire there. So what we will do, we'll bring the bottom of the computer back in. And I'll get you zoomed out a bit so you can see what's going on a bit better. Oops, that's the wrong way. There we go. Let's get you up a touch so you can see there. Come on, up you come. There we go, that's better. Right, now let's just get this roughly stuck back in place. Like that. Okay. We can get the power connector back up. That goes on that way like that. Okay. Right, and we'll fire the scope up. Let's plug the computer back in. And grab a probe. Where's the other probe? Righty ho. Oh, so that's on. So let's ground that out, and we should have a video signal on there. So, wait a minute, wrong one. There we go. So we do have a video signal there. Right, lovely. I'll switch that back off. Now, just as a final quick experiment, what I'd like to try, I've got my video test monitor up here. Now, we won't get a brilliant picture, but we should be able to get some kind of image off that monitor. So I'll just get that set up and we'll give that a quick test. Right, as you can see, I've got the video there connected up, and this is connected up to my little JVC monitor here. Now, we're not going to get a very good picture. We should be able to, it should prove that we're actually getting video straight out of there. So we'll switch on, and yeah, you can see here, it's very, very washed out. Let's see, just brighten it up a little bit. There's a little bit of colour there, but so it's not exactly a brilliant it's not exactly a brilliant image, but it does at least prove that that without the modulator there, we're still getting a video signal basically coming out of the computer. So what we need now, let me get you let's switch that back off there. We'll get you down onto the computer. Right, so basically what we need now is to amplify that video signal. And get it a little bit stronger so it can actually drive the video monitor direct. And what I've got, now this is nothing I've come up with, this has been used time and time again. Atari 2600s, the US style NESs, you know, the later ones that don't have the composite video output, things like that. Very, very, very simple video circuit. About as simple as you can get, but it should work for this like it works for like lots of other systems that I've used it on. We've got a general purpose MPN transistor, something like a 2N, sorry, a is it a 2N222, something like that. I don't think I've got any of them. I'll have to have a look through my general purpose MPN transistors and see what I've got, but anything like that should work for this. Couple of resistors, a couple of capacitors, and that's really all there is to it. So what I'll do is I'll knock that up on a little bit of circuit board, and we'll come back and we'll try it actually on the system. We'll just mock it up first, just see if it's going to work, have a look at the video output again, and if that's going to work, then we'll try and make it a little bit more permanent, and like I said, we'll do a little bit of cosmetic work on the system as well while we're at it. So I'll get this cleared away for now while I get that built, and we'll be right back. Right, okay, as you can see, I've just redrawn the circuit out because I actually just realised I'd made a slight error on the original circuit. But basically this is the video amplifier that I'm using. As I said, when I've seen these before, they've called for various different transistors, but no matter what, basically if it's a general purpose MPN transistor, it's probably going to work for this. I've used a BC237 for the simple fact that I've got some in stock, and it's a general purpose transistor. It's ideal for this application. So there's like the transistor, three extra components, and I don't know if the capacitor is strictly necessary. I like to put it there purely because you've got some voltage at that point there, and what you don't want is that voltage going back into what's ever driving the video. That capacitor will basically just stop that. We've got a couple of resistors, and like I said, the transistor itself, and it's that simple. I've gone ahead and I've knocked that up here on a piece of tag strip. Not on tag strip, sorry, on some strip board. You actually only need to make one break in the strip board there. Apart from that, it's just all placing the components so they connect in the correct place using the strip board. I might actually do a separate video thinking about it. I should have filmed making this, but what I might actually do is make a separate video on that board, because I won't be the first person to do that. There's lots of people have done it, but it's a very useful little board for various, you know, times when you need to just boost a composite video signal, or any other signal to be that that matter of fact. It's just a useful general purpose little amplifier. What we'll do anyway is we'll get the computer back in, and we'll just give this a quick try, and just make sure that this is actually going to do the job that we want. So I'll pull the computer back in and we will be right back. Right, okay, the computer's back in, and I've made enough room on the bench that I can get my little JVC video monitor down here actually on the bench, rather than having to keep panning up to film it. So what we'll do is we'll connect this up, if I can remember which way is which, that way. We'll just twist these on for now. I've left some little tails on the board just to let us connect this up, just for testing purposes. Obviously we're not going to leave it like this. We'll connect that to there because we've got a ground point there. And I'll connect that. I've just got some test leads connected to the back of the monitor, so we'll connect that. Up like that. I think we've got a good connection there. Right, we'll power the monitor up. Power the... That's switched on. Right, that's powered up. Obviously we've got nothing on the screen because I've not actually powered the board up yet. So if I take that other wire there, that's our 5 volts. I'm just going to put it in the hole that I cleared where the 5 volts comes out for the modulator, and yes, perfect. There we go. I don't know how well that's coming out on the camera, but let's just turn that down a touch. There we go, that's better. We've actually got a really nice stable image there. I don't think there's much more we can, chroma, we can perhaps just set that to about there. Yeah, that's a really nice decent composite image. Let me get you zoomed in just so you can have a look at that. Oops, get you up a little bit. There we go. As you can see, we've got quite a nice sharp little composite image there. So we know that that board is going to do what we want it to do. Question now is how we're going to actually mount it. Let me get you zoomed back out again. How are we going to mount it in the computer and actually get it so it's, you know, fairly decent, because we don't want it just like, you know, rattling around in there. So what I'll do, I'll get the bench cleared back off and we'll get the computer stripped back down to the motherboard. We'll clean up some of the dust and detritus on that board and try and make it look a little bit more presentable. And then we'll have a look at that modulator and see if we can do something with the old modulator case to actually mount that new board in and get some audio and video actually out the back there, you know, a couple of flying leads or something like that. So I'll get reset back up and we'll be back in a sec. Right, okay, first things first, let's remove these bodge wires that I just stuck on while we're seeing what we could get working. We'll get them off. Don't need them on there anymore. To desolder that one. And this I think we'll investigate at a later date, because someone's done something interesting with the joystick ports on this computer. But that's not what this video's about. This is about getting the AV mod done on it. So anyway, that makes life a bit easier. We don't want detritus floating around. And let us have a look. I've got a nice, really soft paintbrush here. We'll just go in and we'll see if we can get a lot of the loose fluff. In fact, that's coming off really nicely. Fortunately, it's not like really nasty dirt on this board or anything. It's just fluff. Now I wouldn't recommend doing this if I weren't the fact that I'm on an anti-static mat here, so any static that this would potentially generate is going to be dissipated by the mat, and the fact I am wearing anti-static precautions as well. So I mean, you see people use a vacuum cleaner to do this, and again you've got the same issue. If you're going to use a vacuum cleaner to clean a board, fine, but make sure that you're on, you know, take static precautions, and if possible have a proper anti-static vacuum cleaner. That's starting to look a lot better now. There we go, that's pretty much clean now. Let's just get my toothbrush in there. He's got slightly stiffer bristles, and I can just get in that slot there and get the fluff out from behind it. There we go. That's looking a lot more presentable already. Because I'm not going to go mad with it. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. There's no corrosion or anything like that on the board. It was just full of fluff. So it's now no longer full of fluff, and I'm reasonably happy with that now. Yeah, that will do for the time being for cleaning the board up. I say it's now fluff free. Right, let's have a look at that modulator. Because what my thought is, well, first let's see if we can get the bottom off it. If I can take the board out of that, we should have enough room. If I then put the case back on and I drill out that, we should be able to have enough room to put two cables through. Put a cable tie on the back there so they can't be pulled out, and we'll just have a little tail like that coming out the back with audio and video on it. And then, like I said, it means we're not going to modify the case in any way. I'm not worried about modifying a modulator, but it'd be nice not to drill the case, just to put some UAV slots on the back or anything. Right, let's see if we can get this bottom off. Something holding it that side there. There we go, that's off. Right. It seems to be soldered. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points there where it's soldered in, and I think if we took them out, we should be able to just push the board out. Now it's getting them out which is going to be the fun bit. Let's see how easy this solder is going to flow. Probably not very easily, because all this is a big thermal mass which is going to prevent it flowing. What I could even do probably is just break the board up, pull the board out, and then desolder the bits in the end. But I will try and I'll see if I can desolder it first. If that doesn't work, then I'll take the brute force approach and just crack the board up. Ow. And get the board out. That way. This probably isn't a big enough iron to do this, to be absolutely fair, though it is starting to soften. No, I think I'm going to be there all day trying to do that. Bear with me a second, folks. I'll have a quick think about this, and I'll try and figure out a way of getting that that board out of there, so we can just reuse this this case. So I'll be right back. Right, okay, well, I've got to say, I spent about 20 minutes trying to desolder that thing, and in the end, I got brutal with it. I took the end of that and just cracked it one, broke it in the middle, and just manipulated it until it broke away, so the board's out. But while I was doing that and I was struggling trying to desolder that thing, it got me thinking about the connector there and bringing some tails out, and I remembered I had these. Now I bought these actually a few years ago. I had some Japanese Famicoms I was AV modding, and I wanted to do it in a way again excuse me, again where I wasn't going to break the you know, the appearance, you know, drill holes in it or anything to add some AV outputs. So especially because one of them was going off to someone quite a way away, and if they damaged one of them cables, they weren't someone that was able to fix it themselves. It would have ended up coming back to me. So I thought better solution is I fitted one of those to the back. Basically I took the jack out and put one of those in its place like that, and then I could use a replaceable AV lead, 3.5 jack AV lead with it. And I thought, seeing I bought a pack of 5 of them, and I think I only used 2 because I did 2 Famicoms, one for a friend of mine and one that I sold. I think I've still got some Famicom bits, enough to build another Famicom up in the attic, so they may be coming out at some point. But I found I've still got 3 of them, so I think one of those will work really nicely. The only thing I have to do is basically get that out of there to give us enough room to fit that in there. I'm wondering, it's soldered in place, but I don't, again, like that, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that to desolder. I think I'm going to have to get a little bit more medieval with it and just basically just break it away, so I can get it out of the way, and then I can get in there and I can mount that in its place. We'll try heating it up, see if we can get that solder to loosen, but like I said, I don't think we will do because of the thermal mass around it. You might well get one side to come off, but I don't think we'll be able to get it hot enough to actually desolder that and get it out. We'll give it a quick try. Because if not, then I will have to probably take it down to the workshop and drill it out. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get that hot enough just with a normal soldering iron like that to get that loose. Although it is actually coming, believe it or not. That is actually coming loose. Wow, I was not expecting to get that out of there just with a soldering iron. That's, yeah, wow. But there we go. That's the old phono connector out. Now I probably will have to drill this out slightly. Yeah, I will. I will have to drill that out slightly to fit. Right, and it is. In fact, bear with us a second, folks. I'll just see what I can do about just drilling that out, and then we'll be right back. Right, okay. I actually managed to just ream it out with just with a pair of scissors like that. It wasn't very much, and that went in. A little bit of a faff to get the fixing ring on there because it's so close to this side on this modulator, but it did go in, and I did manage to get it to lock in. So that's not coming out. So we've got a nice 3.5 jack there, so we can use basically any lead like this. We'll plug in like that and give us standard RCA jacks to plug into whatever monitor or whatever we're doing. So that is going to work. Right. So what we need to do now is basically mount this in there without anything shorting out. Now what I was thinking of doing, there it is. we take a piece of heat shrink. I think what we're going to do is basically encapsulate this board in a piece of heat shrink to insulate it. In fact, what I need to do, or else I'm going to look a right fool, is go, right, so that's video out and that's video in. Otherwise, once I put the heat shrink on, I might not be able to figure out which side's in and which side's out. Hopefully this is going to be big enough to go over. Let's just if we can get it over that transistor, it should work. There. I don't even think I'm really going to have to shrink this down much, to be honest. I could have done with a slightly bigger heat shrink, I think. Let's try and move that out. That's better. Move that wire out of the way. Yeah, note to self, I need to order some bigger heat shrink. It's gone in. It's just gone in there. So there we go. So that's going to protect it basically. Yeah, I don't even think we need to shrink that down. It's that tight in there. It's not going to come out or anything. You saw me having to push it in there. That just protects it basically. Right, okay, excellent. So we're going to need to connect our outputs up there. So we've got a big one there's ground, that on the top there's audio, the one on that side's also audio, and the one on the bottom there's video. So that's going to go in like that. We're going to need about that much on the video wire. Where have my, oh, these will do. Like that. And then our ground wire. We could actually put a ground from the case to that, and then yeah, that might work better actually. So what we'll probably do, we'll cut that there and strip that off. So what we'll do is we'll solder that ground on there, and then the other tail of that ground we'll solder to somewhere on the actual case, just to give it an extra decent ground there. So let's get those tinned up. Okie dokie. Right, so they should be okay. That's going to sit in there like that. Put now audio. In fact, we'll use green for audio. I think audio wants to connect to those two connections there. There we go. Okie dokie. We've got a wire to go on the audio, and then what we'll do, we'll just tin up all the connections to that socket. Little bit fiddly because we've not got a huge amount of space in here, but it's easily doable. Tin on there, turn it over, and that bottom one there is our video connection. Okie dokie. Right, now we're going to put that in like that. So let's start by connecting that video. Oops. There we go, that's on there, nice and neat. Now the ground will do next. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but unfortunately it is a little bit on the fiddly side. That's our ground connected. That's the video board in. Now the other side of that ground I'm going to just solder to the case. See if we can get that to flow. There we go. So that's just soldered basically down to the corner there. I might just add a little bit more solder to that just to make it a slightly better connection. There we go, that's better. Lovely. Right, so that's the video board basically connected. All we need to do now is add a wire for the audio, and that will connect to both left and right, obviously, because this connector is designed for the 4 pin connection. So you've got video, audio left, audio right, and ground. Obviously, because this is only a mono computer, we're not worried about the audio left, audio right. We're just going to pair them together in the connector. So obviously if it's a stereo TV, it comes out of both speakers. I've got it on that side, bend it over, and I can solder it onto that top one. There we go. Make sure we've got a decent connection there. Yes, we have. Let's make sure we're not shorting anything else out. No, we're not. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's connecting the left and the right audio together on there, and that just comes straight out there. Right. Okay, I'm happy with that. So that's basically it. So that will give us audio and video out there. There's our little video board. Let's put the bottom of this. In fact, that other ground wire there, we could even solder that again to this thing, because then it'll pick its ground up. Yeah, we'll do that. And then we've only got 3 wires to mess about with. Basically this case of the modulator is ground, and we need to pick a ground up to power the circuit. Now it would get its ground through that other wire that we ran, but seeing we've got that one, there we go, that's connected. we might as well run that through the modulator as well. Okie dokie, excellent. So that's all in there. Now where's that base? Now I don't suppose you necessarily have to put this back on, but I will do. Get them pulled through there. Get this bottom back on. There we go. And really, once I've put the top back on, as you can see inside there, we've just got the video amplifier. And obviously the audio just comes straight through. Put the lid back on. And that really doesn't look like it's been modified. Apart from that's slightly different there, you really can't tell that's been modified. So we'll go ahead. I'll have to push them wires up there. Get them out. We'll get this mounted on the board, and then we can solder those wires where they need to go there. So let's get this mounted back on the board first. It should just go straight back in because I have cleaned up the pads and everything where I took it off. There we go. That's mounted back down there. Make sure it's nice and flat. And as it was before, these two are just slightly turned before they're soldered in place. Just like that. Right, let's solder those down and then we can get that last bit of wiring done. That one's in. That one's in. Now these two weren't bent over, they were just soldered, so I'll do the same. That one's soldered. There we go, that's in. That's soldered. So we've got the modulator back down. Now the first wire, let me just recheck my little thing. The first wire is video. So that's going to be a bit long. We just need to trim that wire down a bit. Let's cut it to about there. Oops, oh, perhaps a bit shorter than I wanted it, but never mind, it should still work. There we go. Let's get that one soldered down through the hole. Got a straggler there. That's down. Ooh. Go on, get in. Okay, just hold that, give it a quick bend like that, hold it. Right, let's solder that one in place. There we go. Just double check it on that side, yeah, that's fine. Then obviously we've got power, which is the next one along, so again we don't need a very long wire for that. That should be enough. so that goes into the next pin along. That's in there. Just through there. We'll solder that in place. Okay, we got that one, and then we've just got the audio to do. Just make sure that that's soldered properly. Yeah, that's a nice decent connection in there now. Not touching anything, is it? No, that's fine, that. Right, and then finally we've got the audio, which again is the last. So now we miss one of the holes out which isn't used. And the final of the 4 holes is our audio. So we'll connect that up. Gone through there. Solder that in place. There we are, and that hopefully is it. Let's just sit that down in there now. That hopefully is it. Hopefully you can make that out. Let me get you zoomed in so you can see that a little bit better. But there we go. So we've got our little video board there, our 3.5 jack output there. If I put the cover back on, you really, because apart from the fact that that's very slightly different there from how it was originally, you really can't tell the difference externally, you know, appearance wise. It looks pretty much as it used to look. So what I'll do now is I'll get the rest of the computer out, we'll put it all back together. Make sure that we can indeed plug in and out nice and easily, and we'll give it a test. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I've got the bottom of the case back in, and I have just gone ahead and, I mean, I've not gone mad to town, but I have just given it a quick clean out basically and get the worst of the dust and debris that was in there out of there. So in fact, there's a little bit I've just noticed on the card slot there. Let's give that a quick while we're... I can't see any corrosion or anything. I don't think it's really dirty. It was, again, it's just a bit dusty, a bit fluffy. We'll get that out of there, and let's get this back assembled. That sits on there like that. Then we've got a screw there. Try to remember where the screws I took out actually go back in. I don't think there was very many, was there? Got a screw there. We've got one there. And then we've got these little clips that go on the cartridge port. Which way around does that go? We'll figure out how those go back on. Oh, that way. I'm an idiot. We go on like that. Or do they go on the other way? They go on the other way, don't they? So they help hold the yeah. Yeah, they must do. They must go on like that. And then they help guide the board in the cartridge into the slot. Right, there we go. They're on. We will put them screws back in. That one. And that one. Right, okay. There's a suitable screwdriver. That's tight. That's tight, and let's get these in. That's in. That's in. Now, plug that in there, so that's power to the board. I don't think there's anything else we really need to do there. Put the keyboard back in. Unfortunately, this keyboard does seem to work fine, so we don't need to do any messing about with that for the moment. Slots in like that, and then in fact we need to. See, I hate putting these in. We reconnect the keyboard. Put that back on there like that. I think everything's looking good. Put the case back on. Something's not quite lining up there. That's not feeling quite right. Down that side now. Why? Try that again. Was there just a piece of wire just sticking out or something at the back? Let's try that again. No, why is that not going in there? Seems a little bit proud there. That all seems to fit. We haven't actually had the transformer out, so I can't see how that could have moved. The board's all in nicely. Something there that's not allowing that to sit down properly. Now what? So that's in the right place. I can't see anything that's moved there. I mean, that obviously will have a little bit of is it just the resistance from that I'm feeling? Perhaps it is. But it feels more than that. It feels like there's something definitely stopping that going down there. So we don't want to force it, and yeah, there's something there. I don't think it's that piece of we haven't changed any of these capacitors, so it's not as though we've got a capacitor which is higher than it was before. I don't really want to take that off because it should fit with it on. Like I said, it most odd. Now why is it not? Ah, simple as that. That wire was on top of there. Right, let's try that again. Let's put that back in position. And let's try that one last time. There we go. That's better. That shuts down now. Right. Let's put the screws back in. Now I think they're all the same length, are they? Let's just double check. No, they're not. We do have longer screws for the back, and the shorter screws are for the front edge here where the keyboard is. Only we would cause damage to the case if we got that wrong. So remember, there's 2 longer and 4 shorter. The 4 shorter are for the keyboard end of the computer. The 2 longer ones are for the back edge of the computer. Okay, that's in there, and we've got these last 2, one there and one there. Okay, we're in. And now the moment of truth is, there we go. How's that? So now to connect video up, I've lost my video lead I was using for testing. What have I done? Oh, it's there. So for connecting our video up now, we've got no modification at all to the actual case. We've not had to drill the case to put RCA jacks on the back or anything, and we don't have a tail hanging out with 2, you know, RCA sockets on it. All we need to do, plug that in there like that, and we have our audio video right there. Right, I will get the TV down, that little monitor down, and we will actually what we'll do, shall we test it with the monitor that we started with, because then we can get a comparison with how the video works. So unfortunately this only has SCART on the back, so I'll just have to dig around and find an adapter so we can plug straight into that. So I'll go and find an adapter and we'll be right back. Right, okay, we have an adapter. It's actually an old Xbox One, but it'll work fine. So we'll plug in our audio and our video. Stick that in the back of here. Plug some power into this monitor. Right, oh, it's TV. There we go. Now, can you see that okay? Hopefully you can see that alright. Right, let's power up the... In fact, we need to switch the monitor on. Okay, there's our monitor on. Let's power up the Co-Co. Let's go to video. Oh, why is that not working? Perhaps there's something wrong with this this SCART connection, that SCART adapter. Just bear with me a second, I'll just go and see if I can find another SCART adapter, so I'll be right back. Well, unfortunately it looks like either something's happened to that TV or that SCART connector is no good, that SCART adapter, and I've just spent about 15 minutes hunting through boxes looking for another one, and it's always the way when you're making a video, you can't bloody find the bits you need. Anyway, this is actually the monitor that I use as a monitor for my camera, but it'll do for what we want. So we've got this all connected up. If I switch on, there we go, look at that. Got a nice, fairly decent, fairly clear image there. So it's a shame I can't show a comparison with the TV that we used before, but that's annoying me, that, really. What I should really do, I mean, this TV is not really worth anything. I should really just put some jacks on the back of the TV there for connection, because I only use it as, you know, like a test monitor like this. It's just sometimes it's nice to have a CRT rather than a LCD monitor like this, but this works nicely. I suppose what I should do really is a quick final thing. I'll grab a tape and get the tape recorder, and I'll load some software up on this, and we'll just make sure that the audio is working as well, and you know, see what the graphics look like a little bit better with something better than just what we've got there. So yeah, basically we have had a success anyway. I'm really pleased with that. Like I said, that looks fairly decent. I can certainly read it nicely. And it means we can pretty much pick up anything that'll take a composite input and use this computer with it. Like I said, we're not limited to just things that have got the old style RF input on them. So like I said, I'll get some software loaded up on this and we'll have a quick look at it playing something. So back in a sec. Right, I just thought I'd bring you back as we are loading. As you can see, I've got my little Tandy CCR82 cassette player connected up, and we've got a copy of Scramble, and it's probably about getting close to halfway through loading now, I think, perhaps a little bit over that. But as we can see from the splash screen up here, we've got quite, let me get you zoomed in on that screen just a little bit so you can have a little bit of a better look. Get you up a little touch like that. Actually, one thing, at least because we're using an LCD here rather than the CRT, you do get a much better look at the image, because trying to film a CRT is not the best of things. As where, there we go, that's loaded up, and it doesn't look too terrible actually. Let's get you in there. How far can you invade our Scramble system? Select 1, player 1, and it shows we've got audio. Oops. I'm actually doing it better than I normally do at these kind of games, but never mind. Oops. I had to die eventually. But that has basically proved, yeah, everything is working the way it should work. We've got our audio's working. Obviously the video is working nicely. We've not got a lot of the funny artifacting that you get when you've got an RF signal. It's actually really stable, really quite crisp. It's not bad at all. I'm really quite pleased with that little mod. Let's just reset the computer. See, oh, there's one thing with the they don't always reset too well. There we go, that's better. So yeah, that basically works. We will have to revisit this computer because I'm still not sure what someone's been doing with the joystick ports, because they've definitely had some rework on them. It looks like traces have been cut and then pins have been wired to other places on the board, so someone's done something with them joystick ports. So we'll have to investigate that further, and then I want to actually get discs loading on this. Now, I do have a TRS-80 disk drive cartridge. The thing is that many years ago when I got it, I actually got it and modified it for use with the Dragon. Because I didn't have a TRS-80 Co-Co at the time. So what I'd like to do is get that out and modify it yet again with a little switch and make it switchable, so I can use it on both my Dragon 32 for loading software and use it on my Co-Co here for loading software. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now because this is already going to be quite a long video. But as you can see, because I've not actually seen on YouTube anyone do a video on doing the AV mod on a PAL Co-Co 2. So I found one website online that discussed it on but that was somewhere in Europe, and basically it's the same PAL. It's just the way that it works on the TV, the actual RF modulator itself. The PAL standard is very, very slightly different between the UK and Europe, but for the actual mod that doesn't matter, that's irrelevant. So yeah, it is actually dead simple to mod a UK or European Co-Co 2 for composite video output. Now I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to finish now because I've just noticed my battery is literally about to die in the camera. So I will say I hope you enjoyed that little video, and I will say thanks for watching and goodbye.